it's Sandra here from createinspain. Today I'm doing something a bit different. I'm doing a miniature book, and I do mean miniature, of this size. Now I have my design here, and I have embossed with an embossing tool on my silver bullet so that I have this little pattern here. And I want to colour this area, but only this area, so I'm going to put some masking tape over the edges, just here, and hopefully it won't stick too drastically and stop me from lifting it off later. Anyway, that's the bit that I do want to mask off. Now the next thing I want to do is to apply a little bit of Versamark. And just going to rub a little bit of that on with my finger. Not a great deal, but a little. And now I'm going to take some powder. Now this happens to be a powder eyeshadow. And I just want a little brush. This will do fine. And this happens to be a kind of iridescent-y, pearlized-y sort of colour. And it shows up really nicely on black. Now if you have pearlized or duo chrome paints, that sort of thing, you can use it. And I've got a lot of different things that I could use. I just decided to use this simply because it's the sort of thing that you might just happen to have around. Now this particular one came as a loose powder already, but I decanted it into an easier container to use. There you are. And now I'm going to go over with some more Versamark, because I'm actually going to heat emboss on there. I'll lift this up and remove my masking, because I know what happens if I try doing this with the masking in place. I'll end up with it over my masking. That's just the way things go. So hopefully that has now given me this funny iridescent blue sort of tinge to the centre of the book, which is what I was after. And what I have in mind are some pearl strips. I think that is about as big as it's going to get for that particular size. That's not too bad. So there we have the front of my book. I've got the score lines already in place. And there we are. So that's the start off of my book. And the next thing I have is a piece of, it's a kind of string type thing. And what I want to do is to lay it across the middle. So a bit of hot glue and pop that on there on the inside. So this will allow me to tie the book closed. What I'm going to do is just take a pair of scissors and snip that little bit away, because I don't want that particular piece there in the middle. It's going to be a bit too bulky, so just snip that off. There we go, but the rest of it is all in place and ready to go. Now the other thing I have is some of this wire. I got some of this ages ago. I got it in Tiger or Flying Tiger, whatever it's called these days. I believe they've changed the name once or twice. And I want to put a hole in the middle of the spine, just there. And I want a little brad. Right, while I was making the video and doing this part, the wire connector, I kind of went out of shot, so I'm redoing this bit so you can see what I'm doing. I've got my wire, a pair of needle-nosed pliers, and I'm going to just roll this around to a loop, pinch it closed. That is going to go over the back of the brad. The rest of this in between can be made into a spring. You don't have to do that, I just chose to do it. And in order to make it into a spring, all you do is wrap it around something like this. And you can wrap it around as tightly or not as you want. I used a cocktail stick before, but you don't have to use a cocktail stick. You could use whatever you want to use. If you want a very small spring, use a cocktail stick. If you want a bigger one, you can use something like this. So what happens is that one end of this goes and gets tucked in with the brad, and the brad goes through it, and you open out the brad. And then the other part of the loop is available for you to put it on a keychain or do whatever else you want to do with it. Now you do not have to use a wire. You could put a ribbon in the spine if you wanted to. You could just do a big wire loop and have that sticking out of the spine. You don't have to do it this way. It's just an option. But there we go. That's what I actually made to put into the book so that it could be hung onto whatever I want to hang it onto. Could use it for a tree decoration, for example, if you made Christmas themed ones. I have some pieces of card here which have been cut to size and scored. And all I need to do with these is to concertina them, which, because they're already scored, is nice and easy. I have 3 pieces. Now you want to make sure that if you've got a design like this, they're up the right way. That always helps. And what you want to do is to put a piece of card over this side first. There you go, that's that one done. Looks like I'm going to need another glue stick very soon to make sure that it's properly stuck, because if you don't, then all your efforts will be wasted. Make sure you've got your wires and things out of the way as they need to be. So that's that bit done. So one of these pieces is going to go on here. So what you need to do is to make sure that it's positioned so that the back of it actually goes in the spine properly. So you need to make sure that it's a good tight fit, because if you put it too far forward, it's just not going to work very well. So you need to make sure it's pushed back and is exactly where it needs to be. So the easiest way of doing this is to put the glue on this bit. Don't need a vast amount of glue, just need enough. Pop it on there and then insert it so that it is in the right position, hopefully. That one needs to be twisted slightly. It wasn't quite level. There we go, that's better. So that will now fit against the spine of the book. So you have the next one, which you need to do. So you can either overlap it or you can cut one of these off. You can do whatever you please, but make sure it's up the correct way. If you have a directional design, a little bit of glue on here, but not a horrendous amount. You don't want thick waddles of the glue. It just needs to line up properly, and you can press that down. There we are. So that's your second lot of leaves. Tuck my wire out of the way. And as you can see, there's probably room for a bit more. Don't know if there's room for all of this. So if I put that one on top of there and close it, I think that's a tad too much. I think that is a little bit too much, but I'll take one off when I need to. What I'm going to do here is cut one off in this direction. Oops, didn't get it very straight. Better. And I'll glue this one on. It goes in there. Now this one has to come off regardless because it's facing the wrong direction in order to stick it down inside the book. So that would come off anyway. Now let's see whether this is the right size. Yep, I think that is pretty good. And then I want to put a load of glue in there. There we go. So now all I need to do is to put some glue in here and really press that down tight. Make sure I've got my pages free. And there we have my little mini book. I think this gold thread in here is going to be a pain in the neck, so I'm going to nip it out and get rid of it. There we have our little book with its bow and its little decoration, and obviously it has its little wire to be hung up from wherever. Oh, if you wanted to, I suppose you could make them in Christmas designs for Christmas tree decorations. That would be quite fun. And if you want to, you can open it up and you can write your messages inside, or you could put tiny little pictures in, or whatever else that you wanted to do with your book. Very sweet, very cute. Is it useful? Probably not, but it's still fun. This is another one that I made. This one I just put a ribbon loop into the spine, and I did actually secure it with a couple of brads too, because, and I admit this, for some strange reason I put the first hole in the wrong place. I meant to put it in the centre and it went off centre. I have no idea why. Also put a brad in the front of this one so that you could have a little strap to close it instead. And that will work as long as you don't use foam for a strap. If you use foam, it's a little bit too delicate. It's not going to allow you to keep that hole in there. The felt is a little bit stronger. If you put a foam strap on, that hole's going to break. So there's lots of different variations that you could do with this. Have a bit of fun. You could use them as little mementos, maybe for wedding favours or something like that, with a couple of little pictures in. Bear in mind that the more things you intend to stick in here, the fewer leaves you can put in. So whereas on this one I've put in 3 separate lots of leaves and join them up. If you are going to fill all this with pictures, you probably only want to put 2 lots of leaves in to allow for some extra thickness from the pictures and things that you're putting in it. So there we go. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you again soon. Take care now.